All right, welcome everyone. With that, welcome everyone to Sports on Tap. My name is Ed Dick, alongside our co-host, technical director Rob Troutman, EVP of social media content and graphic design intern Josh Jeffy, Dr. Hoops himself Noah Jacobson, my cohort, my colleague, my compadre Sean Duffy. We are Sports on Tap. You are watching this live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap, at SOT Podcast, where this and all past broadcasts are and will be archived. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all future broadcasts. Follow us also on Twitter at SOT Podcast, on Facebook at Sports on Tap, and this new thing called Threads, which I literally just found out about 2 minutes ago. But we're there too at SOT_podcast. And of course, check out our website, sportsontap.podcast.com for information about the show. Reach out directly to us at sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com for questions, comments, feedback, and the like. We will go through our sponsors here in a little bit. But in the interest of time, let's get through it. Let's get to it here right away. We are joined by super friend of show. Lucky enough to call me a friend of mine in real life. We are joined by Berea-Midpark head coach Jon Hunek. John, how you doing today? I know we caught you at Dom's game here, so we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Oh, no worries at all. You know, it's just practice, not a game, Ed. So we're good, man.
Practice, sorry, we're just talking about practice.
Yeah, we're talking about practice, man, not even a game. Doing great. Thanks for having me on, man. It's I love being on the show, and I really appreciate you guys continuing to invite me on. So thank you very much.
Coach Hunek is joining. This is your 8th season as the head coach at Berea-Midpark. Last year, 5-6 overall, 4-3 in the Southwestern Conference, and a playoff berth. Before we go forward, let's reflect a little bit on last year. A winning record in the conference, and the Southwest Conference is a meat grinder, as we've talked about over the years. So maybe just quickly recap the season from last year and what you're looking forward to as you're working through the summers right now.
Well, for us, obviously, big step in the right direction. 2 years in a row with winning records in the Southwest Conference. That's our goal. Now, if we can start winning some of our independent games, that'd be good. And that's what I'm looking forward to this year. We've had a killer offseason. I mean, our kids have done awesome. Our strength coach, Frank, has done a great job with them. And just really looking forward to this year. We're lucky to have a bunch of kids that are, highly recruited and also a bunch of kids that are veteran players that we're expecting a lot from this year. Maybe one of, if not the most talented teams I've been lucky enough to have at Berea-Midpark. So excited for big things this year. There's no doubt.
Coach Hunek, thank you again for joining us again. As it's become tradition here on Sports on Tap, we got to talk to Berea-Midpark, got to talk Titan football. Again, as Ed mentioned, you had a kind of an up and down year last year. What's one of the steps you guys are really focusing on to kind of start your year off? I know it's July and you're kind of maybe trying to get kids to get away from the pool and understand, but you guys are coming into it, especially with the kind of accelerated program and the accelerated off season that we have. What's some of the things you're really trying to start off on the right foot with?
Well, to be honest with you, our biggest thing is being better in the second half of football games. We've done a lot of stuff to in our program to really focus on that. In our biggest games of the year, we were either tied or up at half, and then due to the fact that we had a lot of kids playing both ways and not a ton of depth, we lost those games in the second half, and so we've done a lot of stuff in our program, in a lot of facets of our program in order to try to alleviate that problem and be a better second half football team. I mean, we were great in the first half of pretty much every game we played, and it was the second half that really cost us. So first of all, I got to be a better head coach and find out what to get better at in that respect. And I think our assistant coaches are bought into our plan and excited to see it in action this year with how we think we can correct that.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. You guys got 3 seniors coming up who are like D1 commits this year. You got Devin Sahursky, who committed to Cincinnati. You got Andrew Hancock, who committed to Virginia Tech. And you also got Austin Clay
at Bowling Green.
Yep, Austin Clay, who committed to our 4 guys from the Sports on Tap to Bowling Green and that. But just talk about what are some of the things what are some of the younger guys that are going to make a big impact, and what's it been like teaching these young guys like new stuff about like football and that?
Well, it's we're lucky enough to have a lot of kids that are being highly recruited right now. Obviously, the 3 you mentioned, and then Devin's younger brother Mason, that has an offer from BG, and from Ken, he'll play left tackle for us. But really, like you said, those are known commodities, the kids we expect a lot from. It's going to be those kids that are either the unknown commodities outside of our program or the first-year starters that really going to make a difference for us. And that's, I think, where we feel the best about our football team is our junior class is really doing a nice job. They did an awesome job in the offseason, and we feel really great about them, especially on the defensive side of the ball, being able to really take huge strides. We're lucky to have a lot of kids returning on the offensive side of the ball, especially on the perimeter. So I feel really comfortable about that, but it's really that junior class that's kind of stepped up that I'm really excited to see what they can do. So it's always a pleasure, to get new kids, see what they can do on the football field. We're at scrimmage. We're 7-on-7 with Brunswick tomorrow. So that'll be fun. The first time we're seeing somebody else. So it'll be fun to see how our kids can respond to that. But the most important thing is seeing growth and every day focusing on those kids getting a little bit better and improving at their individual positions so that they can start out week 1 well, but obviously be better in week 11 than we are in week 1. So that'll be kind of the goal, what we got going on.
Hey, John, talk a little bit more about that recruiting process, because I don't think a lot of people realize that as a varsity head coach, especially for a Division I program in a state like Ohio, has got a lot of first-class, programs. Talk about that being, part of your job. Not only you're a teacher, you're a parent at home, but you're also a parent and a teacher to these players on the field. And then you have this aspect of dealing with college coaches. And so what's that like on a day-to-day basis for you, just for you?
Obviously, Josh, easier when it's a dead period than when it's a live period. There's no doubt. But, there's a lot I think you hit the nail on the head. It is a lot of time. I mean, it's a time that I'm not, I guess, frustrated I have to spend. I love spending, especially when it's the opportunity to help young men, set up their future. I think that's fantastic. But it's a lot of being on the phone with college coaches. It's a lot of them coming into school. And our school is awesome about letting coaches come in and talk to our kids and talk to me. And I'm really lucky with how they set up my schedule so that can happen. But it is a ton of time. You build those relationships with colleges as a head coach is huge so that kind of who to trust and who you can talk to. But it's also trying to make sure that the kids that are being recruited feel comfortable, with what we're doing, but also to help them grow as young men so they can put their best foot forward and present themselves. Even simple stuff like how to look people in the eye, how to give guys a handshake, how to have a conversation with someone they might not know are things that they need to learn to do better. And you got to teach them that so that they can put themselves in a position to be recruited. But the recruiting process is so much different now too, with the NIL, with the transfer portal, the way it is, really that's kind of hurt high school recruiting because so much of it is, college coaches keeping in mind the transfer portal, but also trying to recruit high school kids. So a lot of those high school kids that might be borderline Division I guys are now Division II kids, borderline Division II kids are now Division III kids. But at the end of the day, the most important thing I think we do as high school coaches is to help our kids understand the process, understand where they fall in regards to divisions, and then understand that the opportunity to play college football is a great thing, regardless of division. And the opportunity for you to help you pay for college is huge. And finding the right fit, finding a place where they're comfortable and excited to play is great. This past year we've had the most kids that want to play college football. So I'm really proud of that fact that they're loving the game. We're providing that love for them in the game that they want to continue to play at a higher level. So it's a lot of work, but I think work that is any good high school coach will tell you they love doing. But I think a lot of it, like you said, goes under the radar that people don't understand how much time it is. And we're lucky to have parents that are really bought into the process and are really trusting me as a head coach to put their kids in great shots. Because when you don't have those parents, and I've had some of those in the past, it's a headache. There's no doubt. So
yeah, it's interesting the way you describe that, because nobody really thinks about the big picture of it with recruiting and all that. And hey, I really like the beard going on there.
Yeah.
That's a new addition. Now, does that stay?
Well,
or is that
it's
going?
not that new. The problem is that it's really gray now. What I mean? That's the difference. I guess it stands out more because it's so darn gray. It's not. It's funny. I had my TSA pre-check today. I had my meeting for that, and the guy put down gray or graying hair as opposed to like brown. You gotta be kidding me, man. Like, you're killing me. I gotta go just for men or something, I guess.
Well, I mean,
all
you
my
do
boys
have some.
make fun of me too.
you have some good George Clooney salt and pepper look on the sides here.
There you go.
You're a liar, Josh, but I appreciate it.
So they asked if they wanted professional headshots at work, and I said absolutely not. Like my headshot from 5 years ago was just fine. Like this one coming up, no. Like this part, it's all gray. My face is fat.
I don't see it though, Ed. It looks like you cleaned up nice for the show tonight.
It's because Diane shaved it down so where it's very hard to see. But point here.
Oh, no, that's funny. Good stuff.
We're talking with Berea-Midpark Titans head coach Jon Hunek here on Sports on Tap, and I wanted to. You mentioned the your independent schedule, and we'll go talk through that real quick. You replace Highland with Cleveland Heights. Nordonia you play again, and then Strongsville's a familiar foe. You've played them in the past. So you're not exactly, that's a team you're quasi familiar with, just because of your proximity and in prior years. Let's talk about the non-conference schedule you guys put together and how you're looking to have that prepare you for the Southwest.
Oh, I'm excited for that. And like you said, Ed, and like you guys previously had said, the Southwest Conference is a grind. So we want to prepare ourselves and see what holes we have and how we can get better early in the year so that we're ready for the Southwest Conference, because we like to compete for a Southwest championship. So, being able to see a great team like Cleveland Heights, Mac does a great job with them there. And then see Nordonia, Coach Fox does a great job there. And then seeing Coach Torino's Strongsville Mustangs is awesome. Not only are those great draw games for us because they're great competitive games, but they're also an opportunity for us to see what we got, get better, and compete at a high level right out the gate. So that's, like you guys said, it's a sprint to start the season now. And I love that. I'm a guy that just absolutely hates things like pregame. So I'd rather sprint to play as opposed to kind of sit around. It also makes me overthink things, which is where I really screw up. And so if we can, just get after it, we'd be good. But it's going to be a challenge coming out of the gate. But I think we got the dudes this year to really get something cooking. And so we want to see teams that are going to challenge those guys and get us better.
Now, Coach, did everybody making the playoffs, did that change your outlook on scheduling, the Cleveland Heights and some of the bigger teams that during the season?
Sure, I think that's a big part, and you got to see what you have early. One of our team goals that our upperclassmen put up is to be better in week 11 than we are in week 1. And so in order to get that way, you can't really play teams that you're going to beat easy because it doesn't expose anything that you need to get better at, both as a team and as a coach. And so the more that we can see teams that are going to challenge us, the better we're going to be when it really matters. Now, of course, you want to have a good seed too, right? And you want to have a home game, and you want to be able to play a team that you feel good about playing out of the gate so that you can get something going in the playoffs, because once you start a run, good stuff could happen. But I think preparing ourselves for the season, like you said, has really changed my opinion of who we should play early. That we want to see challenging games up front. We want to see teams that have some speed. That was a big reason to play Cleveland Heights, because we think that, playing them, you're not going to see that type of speed really the rest of the year. And so that really sees where we're at. And I think we have a fast team, and I think we have a hell of a team up front. I mean, look at our defensive line. Those two dudes, I don't know if any team we play in Northeast Ohio can put the two guys that we have on the defensive end with the Zahersky kid and with Handchuck on DN. So we want those kids to see what they got, right? I mean, so it's exciting to play teams like that. We want to play big games every week, and so because you want kids to be ready for those tight games when it matters the most. Like, you don't want to play a team you're just going to roll up because it doesn't really get you ready for anything.
You mentioned a lot of your really, star players. Are there any players that we as Sports on Tap or the greater Northeast Ohio area need to be on the lookout for coming out of Berea-Midpark that maybe are kind of laying under that surface for you, that maybe you're kind of waiting to see?
Every dude I haven't mentioned so far.
Okay. Well, now's the time. Shout them out.
What we do on offense. So the two kids that are competing for the quarterback job, Danny Bowser and Maddox Swisher, whichever one ends up being the starter for us, we throw the heck out of the football. So he's going to have an opportunity to have a really nice year. At the wide receiver position is where we have a lot of depth. But besides Austin, Braden Cupaw comes back for us, which was a great receiver for us last year. Really makes our offense go in a slot. The other kid opposite slot, Jonas Laver, will be really good. And then we have another returning receiver on the outside, Chase Stackhouse. It'll be interesting what happens at tailback for us. We got a bunch of guys kind of competing for that position. So, kind of hold my tongue on that one until I see how that shakes itself out. Our offensive line is going to be great. Like I talked already about Mason, but a kid Carter Flair and Lance Lease are returning starters for us, and we have 2 younger kids that we think will be in the mix, Cal Maloney and Sean Lagina, that we think could be starters for us and be really good players. On the defensive side of the ball is where I think really kids are going to jump out and have great years. We have a senior first-year starter corner, Anthony Wallace, who's going to be really good, I think. Safety, Justin McDonald is going to be a junior. Our linebacking core all turns over to new kids, but they all were phenomenal for us on the JV side of the football last year. Mitchell Hausler, Noah Finley, and Austin LaForce, and then whoever fills in at nose guard for us in between those 2 studs is going to have a nice year, right? Because he's not going to get double teamed, that's for sure. And we have Noah Silva coming back from last year at Thunder and Lightning, which is our outside, which is our strong safety. And so we got a group of kids that I think are going to be really good ball players and done an awesome job in the weight room. It's just getting them on the field, seeing what they can do.
Wait, there's no other Devons. Luke Devons or Hudson.
No,
there's no other Devons on the team. I mean, it seemed every year there was a Devons.
Sadly not. They've been great players for me. Hudson's going to Oklahoma State as a preferred walk-on this year. Is already there, getting his butt kicked, as he said. So that's a good thing. But no more Devons. I got to run as the Hurskies down, then I'll run at Clay's because Austin's little brother is a freshman this year, and he's going to be a heck of a football player as well. So we got a run of those kids. So it'll be fun to see. But it's cool to have those family of kids. It's really cool to be able to coach all those kids. Hopefully they feel the same way about me coaching them. But not like, darn it, we got Hunek again. My God. But I've been lucky to have great families. That's for sure.
Coach, what really sticks out? Oh, sorry, Josh.
Go ahead, Noah. You got it, buddy.
Coach, what really sticks out to me is that, when Hudson and Luke were like younger kids and you got like Devin and them, just kind of dive into like the youth program, how they look up to these guys and just kind of dive me into the youth program and how it's going.
It's cool. We a few years ago, when I first got the job, we had a Brook Park youth football program and then a Lou Groza youth football program. It was like Berea-Midpark Heights. And a lot of guys in the community, a guy like Keith Wilson, that's awesome, that runs the Berea Rec. He really did a great job, and we did together to merge all those programs into one. So now we really have a nice feeder program for our football program. Our 7th and 8th grade program, Ron Bunner, that runs that, he just kills it. I mean, we have just an unbelievable feeder program there for 7th and 8th grade, and that's kind of what's been the fun part is seeing those kids start at 7th grade, and now this will be my second group that I've coached from 7th grade. Now that'll be senior football players for me. So that's pretty cool to see, and our numbers are way up in 7th and 8th grade because our 7th and 8th grade coaching staff is phenomenal, and it's been a lot of fun to be a part of, and it's now we're starting to reap the benefits of that, and so that work finally is starting to pay off, which is good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to kind of tie into was the fact that now you're at Berea-Midpark for your 8th season. So you said this is your second group. Talk about in a little more detail the importance of how that really having that feeder. Like this is your fourth, you say your fourth group of like brothers that are coming up through the system. Yeah. And just talk about how important that is because your numbers are so big that you said at 7th and 8th grade, and to have that continued. There's a lot of programs out there that would love to have those kind of numbers starting from 7th and 8th grade all the way up.
Sure. I think a big part of it is that those families see the culture we're trying to build, and we're providing a great experience for the kids, hopefully. So it's really encouraging to see parents continue to want to send their kids to us. It's really encouraging to see, and this year especially, we had a lot of kids who could have chosen other places to go to play football, whether it be the parochial schools or whatever, and they chose to stay here with us. So that's been a really, really encouraging thing, a really fun thing to see. And I think it's because we're building a great culture in our community and getting a lot of support for our community. That's I think the thing that's most I don't want to say encouraging it, but the thing I take the most pride in, I guess, is that those kids are now, we want to win a lot more football games. I'll take a hell of a lot of pride in that too, Josh, right? But I take a lot of pride in the fact that kids want to be a part of our program, that this has been a big year. Our kids have even said where every year it's been a bigger deal in our school, where our student body's been more involved in our football program and our games. Our faculty and staff are more excited about the year and become more involved and more into the football program. And so every year we continue to build that. I think we're building something really special there. It takes time. I mean, it's just not you just show up and all of a sudden you're a winner and all of a sudden the community loves your program. But I think our coaching staff and even our youth coach staff takes a lot of pride in that, becoming one big group, building for our varsity and for our program in general. So it's a really cool thing. It's been a lot of fun. Hell of a lot of work, Josh.
Yeah. I was about to say.
I mean, shoot, it's a lot of work, man. That's my
gray hairs.
Yeah, hence the gray beard hair, right?
Yeah, that's right. My brother that coaches at Pickerington North, that's what he says all the time. So you wanted to be a head coach. He's just an offensive coordinator still. He was smart and just stayed coordinating offense. He goes, so you wanted to be a head coach. Every time I complain about something, I'm like, yeah, I know, man.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the schedule coming up this year, John, and the question that I have is, given my record of covering your guys' games specifically, what games do you need me to stay away from?
Every damn one, man.
Every damn one? Okay, so guys,
every darn one.
If we can put that down, I'm not going to cover any Berea-Midpark games this
week
year.
Well, week 1 would be a good start. Week 1 would be a good start. I would like to win week 1, so week 1 would be a good start.
I'm on vacation that week, so I'm not going to add a note.
And we always have one other one that's always circled on our schedule, man. That's week 9 for us this year against Homestead Falls. So and either of those two would be beneficial, but obviously either the Avons are huge, and I'd like to get them because they're great programs. But really, any game on our schedule, I'm happy to have you, and I'll take a dub. There's no doubt. I mean, it's still a lot of work. I need to break this curse.
I'll just say I was there when they won their first playoff game in school history. So
you were.
I know.
You were.
So Josh covers Berea-Midpark. That's fine.
Coach, Coach, we're talking with Berea-Midpark Titans head coach Jon Hunek. Again, you're 8. This is probably, as long as I've known you, I think this is the longest you've been at a program, but as the head, no less. You've been through the beginning phases of being a head coach. You went through, we all went through the pandemic, and then now we're a little bit out. We're further away from that and being back to normal. What's probably the biggest difference? Maybe what's the biggest thing you've learned? Like, if you could go back to tell yourself, first year head coach Jon Hunek, what would you tell him now that you have 8 years in at this position?
I don't know, a heck of a lot. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely. I don't want to say it's an easier job now, but I think I know what really matters right now. It's less about scheme, more about your kids and building relationships with them. That's the biggest, most important thing, is providing for them a great experience in football, because I think it's such an awesome game and such a cool thing to be a part of. And so, it's, for me, that's always the number one thing now is providing them a great experience. But I think, less is more would be what I would say. Less, whether it be less scheme, less things you do, less time. With regards to holding them on, that's one thing that we did this year, and I'm hoping it pays off, is that we really cut the time down that we expect our kids to be at stuff. We try to be more efficient, and I think our kids appreciate that. We look fresher at practice. Our kids are more excited to be there just because we said, hey, this is the time that we're going to be here, get to work, and we'll be done. And a lot less of them hearing me talk, I think, is a big one, which I'm sure my wife would be happy about, but a lot less of me just talking at them, and them and providing, having the kids be more the leaders than me, having the kids be more the ones that talk and speak than me. And I'm going to feed my own ego with that, but more about them, having the opportunity to lead than me being that person. So I guess that's a lot, but I mean, it's cool to see those kids kind of take the reins over me doing it.
I have to imagine too, now that you're more into the position, it's easier for you to do that. It's easier for you to be comfortable with that. You can say, I don't have to have my hands in every single thing. I don't have to dedicate all this time. You dedicate a ton of time as it is, but it's got to be easier. It's got to be great for you to have that feeling.
Hello.
What's up, Dom? How you doing, man?
Hey.
So I agree with that, Ed. I think the biggest thing that I didn't mention is that I have a really great staff, and being able to delegate a lot to them, because that's the trust I have in them, has made my life a lot easier and has let me focus on those relationships we talked about. You know, the fact that I have a great high level of trust in them to do the things that I used to try to micromanage everything. That's been a huge plus. That's been a huge plus for me. So that's allowed that to happen more than anything.
Micromanage.
Hey, do you know what? He's almost a regular on the show. He was on our last year's show, right. I think, too.
He's the super friend of the show, not me.
He looks like I think he got taller. He got taller, though, it looks like.
He is. He's a lot bigger, there's no doubt. He doesn't change the fact that he's a piece of work.
We like you, Cancer, way more than we like your dad, believe me. So with that, Coach, we want to thank you for coming on the show. For Berea-Midpark, again, their season starts August 18th at home at George Finney Stadium against the Cleveland Heights Tigers. And we will not be there. If we're going to be there, it ain't going to be Sean. But, make sure we will certainly be checking out a Berea-Midpark game at some point this year. And so make sure you're following us for the schedule of that. Coach, thanks again for coming on. Good luck with your 7-7 against my boys here in Brunswick, and we'll talk to you probably sometime after the season.
Well, I'm really lucky that you guys have me on all the time. I really appreciate it. It's a blast, and thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Good talking to you.
You guys have a great one.
You too.
You too.
That is Berea-Midpark head coach Jon Hunek joining us here at Sports on Tap. Sports on Tap is brought to you by Ray Felton State Farm Insurance, located at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 for more information. And check out his website, rayfelton.com, to create a personalized quote. RRT Productions. RRT Productions delivers affordable, high-quality video services to all customers and clients. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for more information. And at GV Art and Design, check out gvartwork.com to find your favorite professional and college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off at checkout. And gentlemen, we will have Mentor head coach Matt Gray here joining us here shortly. Just quickly about with Berea-Midpark, as Coach Hunek mentioned, they've had two straight years of over 500 records in SWC. They came within an earshot 2 years ago of tying for the conference championship. You get the feeling that Berea-Midpark is just waiting to burst out, and if they can get at least two out of the three, I know they want all three, but if you can get at least two out of the three of Avon Lake, and Olmsted Falls, not overlooking anybody else, believe you me. But that's really the roadmap to winning the Southwestern Conference.
Yeah, and that's been tough. Avon and Avon Lake are, it seems like, at the top with Olmsted Falls. It's those three teams that have really been battling. And Avon, though, they're a tough one to get past. Coach Eller does such a great job, and he continues to build that program. And every year they have players stepping in and making big plays. And Avon Lake and Coach Kostelnik is right there too. Really, you see there were actually a lot of coaching changes. You look at Elyria changing coaches. You look at, you go down to Amherst and there's a change there. There's a lot of different coaches in the SWC. It's going to be tough. You got to really build your program, and jumping into the SWC against a lot of these teams is going to be tough. But again, Coach Hunek, it's crazy. It's been 8 years, but he's done a really nice job there growing that program. And every year, it seems like they continue to get better and better. Their offense can put up points. It just depends on how that defense, can they stop a team like Avon or Olmsted Falls and Avon Lakes. And if they can, what kind of a season it's going to be for them. So it's going to be fun to watch the SWC this year.
And you look at, again, we keep harping on this, but you also want to take into account that, Jon Hunek took on this team, Berea-Midpark, from its essentially origin. This was a brand new school merging Berea and Midpark and all these schools in that area together. So yeah, I think we're seeing a comfort level out of Coach Hunek now. Even the last couple of years where he's got his system in, he's there. It's It's coming through on the youth level. He's starting to see that pay off a little bit. I think we're seeing the beginnings, and I personally hope that Coach Hunek stays at Berea-Midpark because I think it's a good fit. I think he's got a real good program going there. But again, you never know. You can never say never, especially in athletics. But given the fact that before Jon Hunek got there, this was three schools coming together and having to make and he had to make this program, and he's done a great job over these 8 years. Yeah, like you mentioned, Rob, Avon Lake, Olmsted Falls, those are your stalwarts in the Southwestern Conference. You got to get through those. But there's something to be said from the fact that he built this basically out of nothing, or basically out of a team of 3 schools, which is difficult to do. But on top of that, when you're playing in a Division I school and you're playing these teams, I think it's a testament to how good of a coach Jon Hunek is. And I think those kids at Berea-Midpark are lucky to have him there for as long as he's been there, and I hope he continues there for a long time.
On good points there. I will be remiss to say, with Coach Hunek, he did take over for Ray Raddick. I know Ray Raddick. I played for him, and he had, I think the better way of putting it is that Coach Hunek had to take something that was very familiar to a group. Coach Raddick was at Berea-Midpark for a long time in Midpark. Mm-hmm. So they brought an old hat to get the program started, and John took it from that point. And that is where that's where the launch point is gaining the trust of the community that's been used to Coach Raddick and that group for a while. And now he's almost 10 years in, and he's got things where he wants them to be. So very good points there as well. Let's move quickly on to our next guest, the 4-year head coach of the Mentor Cardinals, taking over for another long-term coach, but has certainly made his own mark in more ways than one. We are joined by Matt Gray from the Mentor Cardinals. Coach Gray, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, guys. I really appreciate you having me on here tonight, and really excited as we get going here. And it's about halfway through July, and next thing you know, August is going to be here right before we know it. So definitely excited to get this thing rolling, and definitely excited to be here tonight to talk with you guys.
Coach Gray, as we did with Coach Hunek, we talked a little bit about last year, just to kind of reset the stage before we jump into this year. Very successful year last year, 9-4 overall. 4-1 in the conference play, but in the playoffs, tremendous effort. Defeated Brunswick, McKinley, avenged the loss to Medina. Tough one at St. Ed's for the regional championship, but just a big turnaround from 2021 when you had a lot of injuries, and that didn't seem to rear its head so much in 2022. So briefly, just recap last year and how that's kind of set up to where you're looking for this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a testament to our young men. It's one of those type of deals where we always have a tough non-conference schedule, and it was like that last year. And we had a tough, close loss to St. Ignatius there in triple overtime, and a really good back and forth defensive battle for an offensive guy and offensive fans. Week 3 against Riverside was not good but defensively it was great there. And then we had our Canadian game where we didn't play very well, and that was 100% on me not having the team ready to go. But I think it was number one was a testament, like I said, to our young men of just getting better every single week. Because I think when you turn our film on from weeks 1, 2, and 3 to the point where we got to in 12, 13, 14, we were a completely different football team. We were a much more confident, better football team that was executing at a high level. And that's something that we always want to strive for, of just that continuous improvement in week by week, day by day, and being able to have that. And that's something that senior class last year, where we had a lot of great individual players, and they did a tremendous job of kind of righting the ship and taking ownership and taking the leadership and really setting that standard for how it's got to be done and what's got to be done. That I think our young guys have really kind of taken taken that and really ran with it this offseason. So yeah, it was a tremendous amount of fun last year, and getting to a regional championship is not what our goals and expectations are. We want to go and our goals in our program are to win a state championship every single year, and that's something that we're going to continue to strive for and work for. So it was a tremendous year, a lot of great positives with it, and a lot of learning experiences. But it's one of those type of deals. We are continuously working to improve and that type of stuff, and I think that's where our senior class was really elite last year with that, of really kind of writing that and being able to get it on the right path.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about Scotty Fox coming into his junior year. You know, had some time as a freshman, came in a little bit, suffered some injuries, and then last year with the help, I can't be remiss without saying Jacob Snow last year stepping in as wide receiver and coming out and pretty much dominating like that was his natural position, but really helping Scotty Fox develop. How do you think Scotty Fox is going into his junior year, how his offseason has gone, and how his development has increased further to become one of those leaders that you're talking about that are so important to your program?
So I'm going to start with Jacob here first, just with bringing him up and the importance of that, just because he was a young man that got thrown into the Wolves the day before a state Final Four game as a sophomore, and had a little bit of a rocky start, but came back and showed that resiliency and was going into the fourth quarter against Pick Central back in 2020. It was a 28-28 football game with that, and Jacob had some injuries and so forth his junior year, and kind of opened up a little bit of a quarterback battle that I'll give all the credit in the world to Jacob Snow of how he handled it and the attitude and what he brought every single day. And that was a huge thing, because that allowed us to be able to use him in a lot of different ways. The first really 4 weeks of the year, he was playing safety and outside linebacker for us. We had that bye week 5, and gave us a different dynamic that we didn't have at the receiver spot last year, and just his ability to go from quarterback to being an athlete, I guess is the best way to put it, was something pretty special with that. And to go through on your question with Scotty, he's had an unbelievable offseason of being able to grow and develop physically, mentally, and as a leader. And that's one of the things, especially at that quarterback spot in our program, you're going to have the physical tools. You're going to be able to continue to work with it. Coach Lewis, our quarterbacks coach, does an unbelievable job of training those guys and working with them all throughout the offseason. And so what was the biggest thing working with Scotty throughout this offseason? The leadership and ability to impact others. And that's why I think Scotty has done a tremendous job. And he's a self-made guy that has just worked like absolutely crazy. And he's had the privilege of being able to have several scholarship offers up to this point going into his junior year, which is pretty rare. But that's because of what he's worked and how committed he is to it, and you feel great for a young man in the family like that, because coming up through the middle schools, we thought we had a pretty talented kid. That I think we'd have this level of kid? No, but that's just a testament to what he's been done and what he's committed to it. I mean, he's put on to about 20 to 25 pounds. He's a legit 215 pounds right now. He's strong as an ox in the weight room, squatted over 500 pounds and like doing some pretty surreal stuff that it's like, okay, I'm glad he's a Mentor Cardinal. So it's can't say enough great things about how Scotty has approached this offseason and where he's at right now as an individual, but more importantly as a leader in trying to guide this football team, because we have some inexperience in different places, but that's not an excuse. That he's doing a great job of kind of leading, and he saw what we talked about with that senior class from last year and what is expected with it now. He's now going to be starting games for his third year going into his junior year. He's seen the lows of going in there that Saturday night against St. Edwards as a freshman to now getting to that point of sophomore year going into junior. He's a different young man, and it's great to see, and that's definitely excited going into the 2023 season.
Yeah, and you guys have had a pretty busy off season, and I saw some pretty cool things. You know, you had your players go on a beach and picking up trash and cleaning up the beach, or the Mitchell Trubisky football camp, I'm sure is pretty cool for some of the kids to go to.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of different things I think you have your players do. Talk a little bit about the off season and how this team is bonding this offseason. Obviously you're working out, you have a great facility to work out in, and it's always intense when all the players come together and are working out and are pushing each other. But you have other things off the field and out of the facility, I think, that are pretty cool that really can bring a team together.
Absolutely, and that's a key thing with it. Yeah, we're going to work like crazy in the football aspect of getting stronger and lifting weights, getting faster, and all that type of stuff, and teaching the football. But we want to make it a well-rounded experience. If we as coaches only impacted them as football players, we failed. And so we're very fortunate in Menor to be able to have our guys in a conditioning class. So we have them either the first period of the day or the last period of the day, depending on the grade level and the schedule for them. So what we traditionally do on Wednesdays leading into pretty much about spring break is our speed day. So it's a little bit lighter, shorter type of day. So we bring our team together on Wednesdays, and we've done in the past book studies and so forth. And then we get into the fourth quarter, we have them grouped up into teams and doing some of the community service that you saw in terms of some of the beach cleanups, helping out around the community, because we want to make sure that the young men are being able to be a positive influence, but also see the power of giving back and the power of the group, not just themselves, but how the group and a large impact can be able to help, be able to push them forward and be able to give a positive influence on someone else. And that's something I think that we've done a lot of work with, and our guys have had a tremendous amount of success with it. And we try to get our guys into certain situations that aren't football related too. Like we're in our mini camp week this week, and what we're going to do Friday to finish off the week is we're going to go up to Headlands Beach up here and do absolutely nothing football related, just play some cornhole, play some of that can jam, and get the guys around one another and just get them out of that football setting, because that type of bond is going to be able to pay off on Friday nights as we get going into August.
Play a little beach volleyball with some aviators on, like Top Gun Maverick. And
we will have some of those guys, but I will not be partaking in that because there's multiple reasons of that not happening. No one wants to see that, nor I don't want to risk that Achilles is a little tight nowadays. So
I'm telling you right now that you say that can jam is no joke either, because I took a header 2 weeks ago playing can jam down a hill,
which explains a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look,
I'm gonna guess you lost.
I was not winning, Rob. I wasn't winning, but yeah, it's crazy.
Never win.
I'll stand back and play cornhole and that type
there you
of
go.
stuff. But
there
once it's been a little bit running around, I'll pass on that one.
Flat surfaces.
Yep, absolutely.
Coach, I wanted to ask, we asked Coach Hunek this, and I'll ask you this one. Is there anyone, I know we talked about some of your big-time stars, the one to get a lot of the press, but what about some of the kids that you're kind of looking to take that next step this year? Are there some of the kids that maybe you mentioned some inexperience that maybe you're going to get that opportunity to show you, and not only you, but the fans and everybody that they're ready to take that next step, play varsity ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's like that across the board, and that's within our program. We mentioned how Scotty played as a freshman. We don't want that at all. Right. We want to be able to rely on upperclassmen, that guys that have been through the program, that have been through the conditioning class. They're strong. They know what they're doing, all that type of stuff. And at times you might have to throw a young guy in there. But the way that our model, just because we have so many kids within our program, of being able to go through, and you usually play JV football as a sophomore, possibly as a junior, and then senior year type of deal. Once you get your opportunity in that shot, is being able to see those guys kind of step up. So it's one of those things that we're really excited about, a lot of different spots within it, because there have been several guys that have a great off seasons that have grown a lot and that type of deal. So it's kind of hard to just pinpoint one.
Right.
But as we're going through that to me is where you get that type of kid that you might not know their name at this stage of the ball game, whether it's a lineman or a skill guy, whatever it might be, and being able to see them take that next step and get with that. I mean, we've had, I can't tell you the amount of guys that have had unbelievable off seasons for us. I mean, just as an example, like in terms of just lifting wise and in the weight room with it last year, going in 2022, I think we only had like 10 to 12 guys that were over 400 pound squat, and we had 26 guys that were over 400 pounds this off season. And we're going to play some underclassmen and that type of stuff throughout this year. That to me is where it's encouraging, being able to see some of those guys. And that was even before we got in our brand new, beautiful weight room. So I'm expecting Coach Wilcox, who runs our weight room, to be able to get those numbers up even higher here now.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us. You guys got two teams in the Greater Cleveland Conference coming back. One is Shaker Heights, who you're familiar with. But this year, you guys got Cleveland Heights coming in. Just kind of talk about what it means, like adding Cleveland Heights into the Greater Cleveland Conference, and how does it make you guys better as a football team when you're facing them coming up?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. And our conference is when you really look at Ohio or Northern Ohio here in Northeast Ohio in the Cleveland area, it's pretty much all the Division I schools, really, except for a small handful. So usually when we can get on a playoff run, we're going to see schools 2, 3, 4, 10, multiple schools that, like last year we went Brunswick, Camp McKinley, Medina. Those 3 first playoff games were opponents that we had in the regular season, whether conference or non-conference with us. So we're going to see a lot of those type of teams, and what we have back within the conference, I think, is going to be pretty special, because you look at it, I think it was us, Strongsville, Brunswick all started sophomore quarterbacks, and then Medina has Danny back as well too. So you got a pretty high level of quarterback play coming back within the conference. Now you add in Cleveland Heights and Shaker Heights, who have absolute top level talent. Of you look at Shaker Heights, you have the DB wide receiver McNutt, who seems like every offer in America, and then Cleveland Heights has about 3 or 4 of those guys that have all those offers. And what that is, that's a tremendous challenge, and that's where we kind of talked a little bit about that consistency piece. You got to be able to bring it every single week, because every single team in that Greater Cleveland Conference can be able to beat you if you don't play up to your level. And we kind of saw that a couple of years ago, back in 2021, when we weren't playing up to our potential and up to the consistency level that we need to have. So with adding those caliber programs with those caliber individuals, you got to be able to bring it every single week. There's no such thing as an off week or a bye week within this conference. And that's where it's special. And that's where you want to be able to push yourself and have yourself be able to get on a playoff run and consider yourself one of the best of the best. You got to be able to do that consistently. And that's with adding those programs and with those athletes and those coaches. That's where it's going to be a tremendous challenge. And I know that's what we're looking forward to. I mean, because really, when you look at our schedule, we got Madison-Jackson week 1, Ignatius week 2, Riverside week 3. So those are going to be 3 challenging games within non-conference. We're going to have to be ready to go, because we got Medina week 4 and then Cleveland Heights week 5. So whoever set up the GCC schedule didn't do us any favors, but we're excited for those first couple opponents, because they're going to be great games and great environments. And it's going to be like that all throughout the GCC, because it is a great conference that has tremendous coaches and great players that we're really looking forward to battle and compete with.
Yeah, you also have to be excited that those 2 teams were actually added, because that helps with you guys' scheduling. Because last year you mentioned that bye week, that week, what was it, 4 or 5 week bye?
It was 5 last
week
year.
5 bye week, and that's hardly ever happens. And just for a program like you, it's tough to get those non-conference games, those teams to schedule you. Now you got a loaded conference schedule, so if any, does that take a little bit of a burden off your shoulders a little bit, that you don't have to worry about that?
It's only for 1 year though, because Solon is leaving us
True.
going into 2024. But yes, it was one of those things last year where I was really nervous, because we did everything in our power to be able to find a game and kind of it's a very delicate of trying to get the right schedule and so forth. So you're not overscheduled. Like I laughed, the IMG called me and tried to set up a game. I laughed at it. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that type of stuff. But of being able to get that right schedule, and actually worked out really well for us, because we kind of did some stuff off the field that took us away a little bit from football, as we were sitting there at 2-2 through 4 weeks last year, and kind of refocused us and got the energy back to where it needed to be. But adding those, only having to find weeks 1, 2, and 3 for the non-conference slate is huge with that. And we'll probably look at being able to possibly move Ignatius later in the year if we have that opening week 6 that it's currently set up with Solon, just so we can be able to go with the earlier schedule, because it's much easier to find a week 2 or 3 game than say week 6 at this stage of the ball game. But yes, it makes it much easier. And what we want to have, just because our kids work so hard, and those seniors deserve 10 regular season games heading into the playoffs with that. So it definitely, I was very excited when Jeff Cassell, our athletic director, kind of brought it up of them possibly joining the conference. I was all for it, just so we can be able to get to those 8 teams, so we can get weeks 4 through 10 within the schedule.
We're talking with Mentor Cardinals head coach Matt Gray. Year 4, coming into year 4, the first year you had was completely off the rails for obvious reasons. And so as we're getting further away from that, as you're kind of settling into the job and into the role, what are some of the things that you kind of picked up on over the last few years that are, that are I kind of want to throw the first year away because of the circumstances were so weird. But even just 2 years ago to now, what are some of the things that you've noticed about yourself that you're kind of picking up from, or what would you tell 2 years ago, Coach Gray? Hey, now that I've been through this, where we looking, what would you tell yourself 2 years ago? Now where you are now. That was a really bad way of stuttering through that. Nonetheless, the point remains.
I think number one, and Trev, when I saw him a couple weeks ago, gave me a hard time for it. I'm a little bit more gray in the beard here now, so there's definitely more, a little bit different stress levels and that type of stuff. But I think going into 2020, that first year is probably a better aspect of it, of me being a first year head coach and not having 15, 20 years kind of having established that away, just because really. And even in normal times, there's going to be situations, there's going to be stuff that pops up that comes across the desk or an email, phone call that you never planned for, and you got to be able to adjust to it on the fly. And I'm very fortunate and privileged to be able to be the head football coach at Mentor High School, because this is a community that is very special. Football and the betterment of our young men and all of the students in our schools, it really means something to it. And there's a tremendous support from our community, from our administration, all the way down to our athletic director and that type of deal. So I can't speak enough and how highly of the support that we have here within the city of Mentor and what they do for our program and the well-being of it. So I think number one is just, I always kind of take that step back of kind of pinch myself and say, this is a pretty special place, a special job that I have, and I don't take it lightly, because our young men, they work like crazy. And it's one of those type of deals where the more you get into, the more you see it. This is a people business of being able to impact the young men and be able to be there for them and kind of see their growth and development. It might not always be stuff that they want to hear, stuff that they want to do, that type of deal. But you come back and you see them. I mean, I had about 2 or 3 phone calls tonight from former players and just seeing how they're doing. And that's what the fun part of coaching, that's what the special part is, be able to get those type of connections. So I think just being able to improvise on the fly, and there's always going to be something that pops up that you don't expect, and really being able to get back to it and just coaching some ball and drawing up some X's and O's and how to scheme offense, defense, special teams. That's a very small part of what I get to do. That's kind of why I've kind of held on to calling the offense still, because I have to dictate and set up, all right, here's my small window that email is shut off, phone is shut off, I'm watching film, or I'm going to be able to do this for getting ready offensively or defensively and that type of stuff. So it's a great situation. It's a great program that has a tremendous amount of support from every facet, from our community to our administration, our schools, and our kids, because we can't say enough about our kids, because they work so incredibly hard and they're so dedicated to it. So very fortunate for those guys.
How cool is it to, you said you talked to Coach Triv. How's Coach Triv doing it? And what do you guys talk about? I mean, Coach Triv has been, a little bit out of the game now. Is he still pretty involved in, how cool is it to talk to a coach that has had so much success? He was.
It's been a huge part, because he's been such a huge part of my development as going from when I was first hired at about 23, 24 years old to where I'm at now, and being able to grow and develop as an assistant coach into kind of that assistant head coaching role, knowing that I was potentially going to be that guy that was going to succeed him with that. And just, we pretty much still talk 1 or 2 times a week, just going over different ideas and different things that pop up. And just, he's probably my biggest soundboard of the we've been in the same shoes with that. And he's just been a tremendous asset for me. And he's sitting back in Columbus and he's coaching middle school football down there. And I think he's absolutely loving not being the head coach and just getting back and not having to deal with a lot of those issues that pop up. And just kind of how we talked about just what the program is. When we were going through and doing some fundraising for the weight room and that type of stuff, had the opportunity to talk with Dick Crum, who was a former head coach of Mentor in the 1960s, who ended up being the head coach at Miami of Ohio, Kent State, and the University of North Carolina, and he still spends half his year. And just being able to sit back and kind of talk with him a little bit and hear some stories and kind of what the game, how it's changed a little bit, but also what the impact of coaching still was back then to what it is now. It's pretty special, and we have on our press box of three coaches that are up on that board, and they're Lee Tressel, Dick Crum, and Steve Trevisano. It's like, okay, that's pretty powerful. And then you look at the players, and 4 or 5 guys that have played in the National Football League, guys that had unbelievable high school and college careers. That's where it's pretty special with it. And being able to, was very fortunate to first part of June be down in Columbus for when Coach Tribb was inducted into the Ohio High School Football Coach Association Hall of Fame, and being able to be a small part of that night with him, and definitely a well-deserved honor, because he poured so much into this program and this community for it, and it's just been a tremendous asset for myself as going through this journey here the last 3.5 to 4 years.
That's great, and we would echo those sentiments about Coach Trevisano being. I mean, if there's ever a slam dunk Hall of Fame first ballot, guy, it would be Coach Trevisano out of Mentor, and we know obviously the legacy that's there at Mentor, and looking ahead to this particular season. Are there any games? I mean, obviously every game's important. We're not saying that, but obviously there's got to be some certain games you got circled as maybe kind of measuring posts for the season, so to speak. Any sort of games that you kind of want to see how you stack up?
Starting Friday night, August 18th, 7 p.m. at Robert Fife Stadium in Massillon-Jackson, down there, and starting that journey. And that's the great thing we're talking about with this conference, and what our non-conference schedule is, though, too. If we're looking ahead to past one opponent this year, we're going to get beat. And really, when you look at our first 5, it's a great measuring stick, because Massillon-Jackson got better and better throughout the year. They had a young quarterback last year, so expecting them to be a tremendous challenge week 1. That leads into St. Ignatius. And I think you guys know the history between that Mentor-St. Ignatius rivalry and what those games have been over the last almost 20 years now here, and seeing being able to see that kind of transition to go from Coach Kyle to where they're going to be at here now, and being able to see what this rivalry is. It's pretty special, and excited to see what Coach Franzinger is going to do with this program. And I know it's going to be a tremendous battle here going forward with that. So it's one of those where, that game is going to be week 2, and that's going to be our home opener. So that's going to be a tremendous environment. Then we'll get to go have a Lake County battle, which we don't get to have very often. And the place was packed last year, week 3 against Riverside. And I guarantee you when we go there week 3 this year, it's going to be a tremendous environment. So our non-conference is going to be 3 great battles. And then we start off conference with Medina, and you've seen what those games have been the last couple of years. It's been kind of Mentor Medina battling out for the GCC championship over the last couple of years. And then week 5 is Cleveland Heights, and they have a tremendous amount of talent coming back, and really looking forward to what those battles are going to be. So we're going to be battle tested those first 5 weeks, but we're looking forward to it. And we know we got to be able to bring it, because if we don't, you're going to lose. And that's one of those, that's the good part of having this type of schedule. It's not, all right, we only have 1 game schedule, because we can just kind of cakewalk throughout the rest of it. It's going to be a tremendous battle, because you look at it week 1, you're always excited for week 1. So starting that off on the road, and then you get week 2 against Ignatius at home as a home opener. That's going to be a pretty special environment, pretty special game too.
Coach, one of the things, sorry, Rob.
No, go ahead, Noah.
Coach, one of the things that really sticks out to me is that you went down to the University of Oregon for the Nike Elite High School Football Coaches Summit. Just talk about what that whole experience was representing you as Mentor, and just talk about how awesome it was to see other big time high school coaches at the University of Oregon there.
That was a pretty special moment, and kind of one of those pinch yourself experiences with that of going through, and we're one of 4 in the state of Ohio that have this Nike Elite deal and contract with that. So we were able to get out there for that, and Nike's been a tremendous partnership with us. But being able to go out there, we spent a day and a half at the University of Oregon. So being able to, first thing we did was really tour their track facility and go through with that brand new facility. And that blew me away. And then the second day we were there and spent the entire morning at their football complex. And that was pretty special. Their indoor facility, I think, was about 25, 30 years old. They're not happy with that, and it's getting a little bit older, so they're going to be building a $250 million indoor complex where their current practice facility is at, and just the resources they have available to them, and really got to sit down and hear Coach Lannington, he gave us about an hour and a half of his time. Their strength coach gave us an hour plus of their time, met up offensively, defensively. So it was a tremendous opportunity to be able to talk some ball and that type of stuff with the Oregon staff. And then we spent the last day and a half at the Nike World headquarters. So that was pretty surreal to be able to see kind of the behind the scenes aspects of what that place is, and going in the different buildings. So we spent most of our time at the Tiger Woods Center. Then you had the LeBron James Center of Innovation, where you're not allowed to go past the entry points of the main lobby, and you're not allowed to go past that. But it was pretty surreal. And then when you look at it, it was pretty much a who's who of high school programs throughout the country in terms of Mater Dei in California, St. John Bosco in California. Being able to look at several of the Texas schools that were there, Georgia, all that type of stuff. There were some big time high school football coaches that were there, and just kind of sit back and learn. And I mean, it was that point where here's a little bit of a surprise. Here's Chip Kelly. And he gave us an hour and a half of that time. Like, it just was kind of surreal. Had to get on the good side of the wife. They gave us an opportunity the first night at Nike World headquarters of doing, they have a private Nike store, and we had a discount and a gift card and so forth with that. And Coach Terrell from Hoban, he gave me a great idea of FaceTime your wife when you get in there. And that type of deal. And it was pretty funny. There was, I think, 36 of us coaches that were there. Every single coach had the phone out with FaceTime going around, and being able to have that. And they shipped it all home. And once that box came home, it went from, are you really sure you want to go on this trip, to, hey, that was a good idea. That was a fun
Thank
trip.
God you went on that trip. Yeah.
But it was pretty surreal. Of being able to see kind of behind the scenes at the University of Oregon, see behind the scenes at Nike World headquarters, and more importantly too, of being able to talk with and have that bond with several of the coaches throughout. I mean, one night we spent half my night with 5 or 6 coaches from California that I never would have that opportunity to sit down and be able to talk some ball and talk different experiences, and finding a couple different things to take back to our program here in Mentor. It was one of those pretty surreal experiences that definitely don't take lightly, of being able to have that, because I know not many people have that opportunity, and it was pretty surreal for it.
So did you come home with a new pair of shoes for the season? I mean, is it do they make a matte gray, season debut shoe for you?
I came home with quite amount of stuff that was brought home. I mean, they took good care of us, I guess is the best way I could say. They took very good care of us. So I'm definitely a fan of the check mark and everything that they stand for. What they do for us as a high school football program in little old Mentor, Ohio. So they took very good care of the Gray household.
Very cool.
I think Mr. Knight probably can find $250 million on a couch cushion to help pay for that new facility out.
Yeah, so
no kidding.
It was pretty surreal. Like at the University of Oregon, in their team room, they had like wood, not wood paneling, but it was like wood up on the sides of it, and they also had a similar structure at Nike World headquarters, and every piece was separate. So what did that mean? That means that every piece that was up on the wall was a different tree. And so they had a bridge at Nike World headquarters where every piece was a different piece from Phil Knight's hometown. And it's like, where do you get, one, the money for that, or two, the thought process? That's what you have to do. Well, it's crazy.
Well, hey, Sports on Tap is looking for a partnership,
We'll gladly shill Nikes all day long. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, I joke all the time. I'll be like Ricky Bobby or any NASCAR driver. If they want, if a company wants to give us some money, I will wear whatever you need me to wear.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have no problem being the shill that Wayne and Garth were back in Wayne's World for those corporate sponsorships. I'm all about that as well. Coach, I want to thanks again for coming on the show. Great to catch up with you. And Mentor will open their 2023 season again at Massillon Jackson with their home opener for the week to follow against St. Ignatius. So, Coach, we will certainly be out to one, if not more than multiple of your games to check out the Mentor Cardinals. And we can't thank you enough for the time, and good luck this year. We'll make sure we catch up with you either during the season or after the season.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you guys having me on and look forward to you guys coming out and everything that you guys do for high school football. It's awesome to get. We have a great game and great product here in Northeast Ohio, so appreciate everything that you guys do and kind of help getting that word out. And we're really excited going into 2023 season because we got a lot of guys that work extremely hard, and I know that they're I know I didn't give a name or that type of stuff. One or two guys that
Top
you might not have
secret
heard
over
about,
there.
but by the end of the season, you're going to know some different names
Oh, yeah.
of some men or guys that are having some great years, and that's what we're really looking
Well,
for.
our goal is that we'll contact you later on, and we'll get them on our show during the season to
Perfect.
talk about their games.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Coach
Thanks,
Gray.
Coach.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Coach.
it, guys.
That is Menor Cardinals fourth-year head coach Matt Gray joining us on the show here, and a great breakdown not only of the offseason program and some of the things they do for team bonding, but just really a once-in-a-lifetime experience that that Noah found, that Noah, all credit to Noah for bringing that up. But once-in-a-lifetime experience really for any coach to be able to go out to a world-renowned facility, a world-renowned university. There's not too many coaches get that opportunity, and we certainly appreciate Coach Gray going into that a little bit with us, and being able to bring some of that knowledge, being able to network with coaches from all over the country from very successful programs. I mean, the coaching clinics that happen in state are very important for that. The Glazier clinics, and even just going down to the state championship games. Coaches usually, coaches meet up down there. If they got knocked out of the playoffs, they go down there. They make a weekend of it. They catch up with each other. They talk about this. They talk about football, and being able to do that on a national scale at a facility like Oregon, you can't beat that. So we're certainly looking forward to seeing what Menor is going to bring to the table this year. Again, they will have for at least for 1 year, a 7-game conference schedule with a very tough non-conference schedule to boot with that. So with that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and Ed, the way things are going in high school sports, I mean, we're talking. I mean, we're privately having conversations about the changes that are happening. I mean, a lot of these leagues are shifting. There's a lot of shifting, so we don't know. We know this year the GCC is going to remain an 8-team league, and it could probably add. I mean, I'm sure they're looking to add another because, as Coach Gray mentioned, it's a nightmare trying to schedule after the fact. It's tough to do, and you're playing a game of basically battleship. Are you available on this weekend? Can we play? And then that leads to, like you mentioned, like IMG's calling. Well, IMG is a sports factory, for lack of a better term. I mean, it really is, and that's not fun for anybody. So you want to make sure you're putting competition out there for your team and keeping them. Like I know last year, I think he mentioned it. They were 2-2 going into that week 5 bye week, and then they kind of maybe reset themselves and took off from there. And they were a force to be reckoned with coming out of that week 5 bye, going right into the playoff, if I'm not mistaken. They played very, very well down the stretch, and I mean, it took them to a regional championship and lost to St. Ed's, who eventually, I believe, did win the state championship that last year. So I mean, it's again, and they're going to roll that over in this year. I'm excited to see what Menor has to do, but as we've talked about, the GCC is not an easy conference to get through, top to bottom. It's a great, tough, competitive conference, starting with Medina, but now you have Shaker Heights. Now you're adding Cleveland Heights in there. Now you still got teams like Brunswick. You still got teams like Strongsville. There's no, and that's why I asked him that question. Is there a game? And he had the perfect answer. No, I'm looking forward to the next game because you can't let up when you look at Menor's schedule, week 1 to week 10. And that's the nature of the beast for a program like Menor. The expectations are way up here every year, and they're not satisfied getting to the regional championship. They're only satisfied when they hoist that trophy for a state championship, and that's been their goal for a long time. So, I'm interested to see how Menor plays out this year.
When you were talking of Cleveland Heights, and next show on next Monday night, we'll have Cleveland Heights head coach Max Stevens on the show. at 8 p.m. to talk a little bit about going in.
Did I just foreshadow? Did I just?
I mean, what a
Guys,
tease.
you and Noah are both stealing my material here. I don't know how I feel about any of this.
I know Noah came up with some great questions there.
Noah's learned from the best guys, and that best.
I mean, the Oregon stuff, that's all you. But man, the schedule stuff,
Oh man,
territory here. I don't know how I feel about that.
I think they're trying to lighten the load a little bit. I mean, Ed, you do so much. You'll always be the golden voice. We can never take that away from you.
Rob,
Ed, I'm turning the Power 10 over to you this year.
I did the Power 10.
Oh, all right.
I did the Power 10. Did I not do the Power 10 last year?
Sean forgot everything that happened last year.
I did the PowerPoint.
That's like Rob forgetting the freaking the PowerPoint. Yes, if you're talking about the PowerPoint, by all means, you're good on that.
Thank you.
Yes, the Buckeye recap.
Sorry, yeah, the Buckeye recap that happened 50 times.
Rob, we are not going to do the Buckeye recap tonight, buddy, because we didn't talk to the Buckeye coach.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay.
I thought
we might go over that.
As Rob was mentioning, we will have the head coach of the Cleveland Heights Tigers, Max Stevens, on next week at 8 p.m. Before that, friend of show, a gentleman I'm quite familiar with from not only from college but also being a coach with him at Brunswick, the Highland Hornets head coach Mike Gibbons will be joining us at 7:30 next week to talk about the Hornets in the Suburban League American Division. Highland was the initial #1 team, regular season champions of the Power 10 poll, having finished with an undefeated record last year. So I'm not going to bring that up one bit at all because it means nothing to us.
I'll bring it up. I'll be like,
it does to us.
I don't think you should.
Coach Gibbons, how does it feel?
I think Coach Gibbons
#1 in our Power 10. I mean, that's special. It's special.
I don't think we talk about the Power 10 with coaches going forward. Yeah, but we have Rob's on a really, really good show for us next week as we are getting ramped up for high school football coverage. And guys, 5 weeks from this week, it starts. It's coming
crazy.
Quick.
Holy cow.
With the expanded playoffs, the regular season last year got bumped up a week. So, football's coming fast, and we'll be working to get some other coaches on from different conferences. So far, we have talked to the Southwest Conference and the Greater Cleveland Conference. We're going to stay in the GCC next week with Cleveland Heights, and then we're going to talk Suburban League American Division next week. So definitely make sure you're staying tuned with us. Sports on Tap, sportsontap.podcast.com, and follow us on Twitter at SOT Podcast, Facebook at Sports on Tap, Threads at SOT_podcast.
Yes.
That's where you're going to get all of our information about who's going to be coming on, when they're going to come on, is going to be on all of those outlets. So we will be back again here live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap, next week at 7:30.
They're excited, man.
The Baja Men are also going to join us, apparently.
Dude, they're more excited than I've ever seen.
They're really excited. Jeez, we don't have Olmsted Falls on next week, Rob. I don't know why the dogs are coming out.
Who let the dogs out?
Goodness gracious.
That's awesome.
You are watching us live on the YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Again, make sure you hit subscribe. Get the notifications on all of our future broadcasts. This broadcast will be on there in short order. So last and certainly not least, let's go through our sponsors one more time. Ray Felton, State Farm Insurance in Hudson, Ohio. Call Ray at 234-284-5996 to get a quote on auto, home, life, and business insurance. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win. RRT Productions offers freelance services for large and small scale events. Check them out at rrt-productions.com for information. GVR in Design. Check out gvrwork.com to find your favorite professional college team and player-themed shirts and apparel. Use the promo code ONTAP10 at checkout to get 10% off of your order. And for Rob Troutman, Josh Jeffy, Noah Jacobson, and my cohort, my compadre, my colleague, Sean Duffy, my name is Ed Dick. This is Sports on Tap, and we will see you on the other side.